a dunk. Again, two things I've never known anything about, um, unless it was my kids. I put my kids' goal down of like 7 feet, so I can get that. But other than that, that's the extent of my basketball and volleyball dominance. Good morning. Welcome to Indian Lake Peninsula Church. Glad you're here. Bill is in Alabama preaching at a revival this week, so you got me. So we had a men's breakfast this morning. About 30 men that are here thinking, I've already heard this guy once. Now I got to sit through it again. So I only took 5 minutes the first time. So Bill told me, he said, look, you got an hour total with both of them. I only took 5. So I got 55 minutes left here. All right. Don't worry. People with FCA tell me to come, when they ask me to come and speak, like, you got an hour. I'm like, what do you want? 3 sermons? I mean, that's an hour. I'm not going to do that. But do good. People listen for 10 minutes. So I'm good. Very excited today. Really been working through this for a while of what I wanted to share. And just basically to kind of give you a little bit of why I'm talking about today, we're going to look at Ecclesiastes chapter 1, lessons learned. It's kind of a topic for a title for today. We're going to kind of look at Solomon, lessons that God taught him. And then I'm going to get personal a little bit. And we'll talk about really the last 6 months of a journey that I've been kind of going through. Kind of a tough one. But just to see what God's done on the other end of that and teaching me and helping me and still teaching me today. It's not lessons that I'm learned, lessons I'm still learning. But I just know that the songs we did this morning, the worship we did, it just reminds me of how good God is, how much He's in control, and how He knows what's going on. He has it all figured out, and I know nothing. But I have to have Him. If I didn't have Him and His love and His forgiveness and His joy and His peace, things I can't do on my own. And again, that's one of the things I've been learning and being reminded of. I need Him. We see there, He is all powerful. He is all knowing. He is all present. And I'm thankful that we have a God that has it all figured out, even though we think we do. We just have to learn to submit and surrender and totally trust Him and quit trying to do it ourselves. That's something we'll work on for the rest of our life. But I am encouraged by Solomon. Here is a guy, I love reading the book of Ecclesiastes because Solomon, as you know, he wrote Song of Solomon, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes was at the end of his life when he tried all these things and figured out it didn't work. He's really writing from a repentant heart and he's really seeing about, I tried all this and this is what God showed me. This is the lessons that I learned. And it's been it's been huge in my life the last several months just to read about Solomon. Here he was, probably we know is one of the wisest men ever, probably the wisest man ever. But yet we'll see in Ecclesiastes that he realized he didn't know anything. He thought he did. Kind of reminds you of us, doesn't it? Let's look at Ecclesiastes chapter 1. I'm going to break it up into 2 parts. I'll read it. I got it up on the screen for you here. I'm going to read verses 1 through 11. And we're going to kind of talk about him. And again, I'm going to get talking about kind of what God showed me in the last little bit. So Ecclesiastes 1. Let's read God's word this morning. It says, let's read off the screen. It says, the words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets. It hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye has enough of seeing, nor the ear has its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was here already long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will be remembered by those who follow him. Ecclesiastes 1, this is 1 through 11. One word, if you could describe the book of Ecclesiastes in one word I really love, and it's realistic. Solomon just tells it like it is. He don't sugarcoat it. He just tells it like it is, and that's the way I like things. I want you to just tell me like it is. It may hurt. It may sting, but I'd rather just hear it like it is. He shows us that joy doesn't come from what we do or what we have, but joy comes from a relationship with God. I've learned in life as I got older, and I can think about when I was younger, and if I could just have this much money, or if I could drive this kind of truck, or if I could have this kind of house, man, I'm going to have everything I need. I'm going to be happy. But when I'd get to that point or close, I'd find myself wanting more. I'd find myself wanting something new and a change and wanting something different. And so it just shows me, and again, I still struggle with it, but it shows me that true joy and true peace has nothing to do with what I know or what I have. It comes with a relationship with God. And we all know that, but yet we still struggle. So it's a battle every day to remind ourselves of that and to ask God, say, God, show me this, because we never get to where we got it figured out. We never get to where we say, all right, God, I'm not going to look for anything else, God. I'm going to just enjoy you, because something else comes up. We want something else. You know? And so it's very important. So what I want to do is in these verses 1 through 11, I want to show you about 5 things in this as you look through verses 1 through 11, lessons that Solomon showed in here that he learned about life. Again, here he is, older part of his life. So number 1, you will see, first thing he starts off with in verse 2 is he says meaningless. Absolute meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Some of you might have vanity or whatever in your Bible. He's just saying, all these things I thought were so important, meaningless. He's not saying, I want to read something to you. I got a book that I love. One of my favorite pastors' name is Tommy Nelson. He's in Denton, Texas. Done a lot of stuff with FCA, and I use his stuff, his Song of Solomon material when I do premarital counseling. But Tommy wrote a book called, it was 2 different titles. I just went blank on it, whatever. But A Life Well Lived, and he's talking about Ecclesiastes. And so he says, here's what he says about these verses here. He says, when Solomon used the word vanity or meaningless, he doesn't mean that life is ultimately meaningless. Not is he saying that life is chaotic or disordered. What Solomon means by vanity or meaningless is echoed in other scriptures. As James said, you are just a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes away. And God tells Adam in the book of Genesis, from the ground you were taken, from you were dust, and the dust you shall return. Job said, naked I come from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. Materially speaking, life is short, and then you die. You will lose everything you own to the next generation. Your children will rent out your house, purge your possessions, and spend your inheritance. That's encouraging, isn't it? Makes you want to go home and redo your will, doesn't it? Yeah. Ultimately, you will be a distant memory at a Thanksgiving meal. When you die, there will be a funeral. You will have 25 or 2,000 people there. But do you know what they'll do after the funeral? They will catch lunch and have a great time together. Then they'll hurry back to work because somebody was covering for them while they took off for the morning. That night, they'll go home to their families, watch a sitcom rerun, and forget all about the memorial by morning. Are you ready for that? In the end, you will lose everything. All is vanity, meaningless. Vanity of vanities, that's life. It goes quickly, you die, and pretty soon nobody knows who you were. I know what you're thinking, man, thanks for the encouraging message there, Klein. We appreciate that, But, like I said, he's not saying that life is just meaningless. Just give up hope. And, he's not saying that. He's just saying the things that we put so much time and effort in, the things that we worry so much about, the things that we think we can't do without, it's just meaningless. It's vanity. So we shouldn't worry about those things. But you'll see him say that in this. And if you see it in your Bible, you'll notice all throughout the book of Ecclesiastes, he says the word vanity or meaningless. He also says, you see in Ecclesiastes, you'll see the phrase under the sun. You'll see that several times. And in that, he's talking about the life that we have here. He'll say there's nothing new under the sun. We think things are new. And yeah, things new are invented. But a lot of the things we see are just repeated. You see something go out of style. Later on, it's come back. You see all these things that just return. There's really nothing new under the sun. We've seen it and we'll see it again. He'll talk about generations come and go in 4 through 7. It's interesting, as you look at 4 through 7, he talks about the sun rising and the sun setting, the wind. He talks about the streams and the water. And he's saying it's kind of like comparing nature to a machine. It just keeps on going. Sun rises, the sun sets. The wind blows this way. The streams, it rains, they empty, They fill back up. It's just like a machine. And he'll say, he just learned that just things keep going. He said, even when we die, we're gone. Things are going to keep on running. Things are going to keep happening, just like we weren't here. The world's not going to stop just because the day that we die. Ultimate meaning. He said in verse 8, he said, everybody's always looking for something. He said, what was he said? All things are wearisome. Man is unable to speak. The eye is not satisfied by seeing, or the ear filled with hearing. We're always looking for something else to satisfy us, something else we can see, something else we can hear. And again, this is lessons that Solomon's saying as an older man. These are things I keep seeing over and over in my life and in others. And he talks about in 9 through 11 of just old errors. He's talking about in verse 11, said there's no memory of those who came before, of those who will come after. There will be no memory among those who follow. He said, verse 10 said, look, someone said this is new. It already existed in the ages before us. He said, we keep making the same old mistakes. So that's just kind of how he opens up Ecclesiastes in the lessons that he's learned in life. And all these things just keep happening, keep going. The same things, the same mistakes. We keep doing the same old dumb stuff sometimes. But then when you look at, starting in verse 12, Solomon, he went on an all-out pursuit to find joy and happiness. And the guy had, if anybody could find it, he probably could. He had more wealth than anybody else. He had more wisdom than anybody else. And we'll see that in verses 1 through 12, through really most of chapter 2, it says Solomon pursued many things to find joy, wisdom, knowledge, pleasure, excessive alcohol, accomplishments, wealth, sex, work. He said it was an all-out pursuit. He tried the best he could to find joy and peace in everything he possibly could. Isn't it interesting how several thousand years later, still the same thing? If somebody says the Bible's not applicable, have them read Ecclesiastes, because we're still pursuing those same things. Some of us are in all-out pursuit to find joy and peace and happiness in everything, but the one that we can find that in. Let's look at verse 12. It says, I, the teacher, king over Israel in Jerusalem, I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that were done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, look, I have increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. Then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom and also of madness and folly. But I learned this too, it's a chasing after the wind. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow, more knowledge, more grief. So let's look at some of this. With this verses 12 through 18, let's look at some lessons here that Solomon said, this is what I've learned in life too. Because here's what he was chasing. His first one, he said, in order to find happiness and joy, I want to get as much wisdom and as much knowledge as I can. Surely that's going to bring me joy. Surely that's going to provide what I'm looking for. I'm not even going to touch the other stuff for the sake of time today. But you can go down through the rest of chapter 2 and look and see all the things. He tried it, and he tried it hard to find joy. We're just going to concentrate because of what God has done in my life the last 6 months. This is where I've been really looking and praying for and trying to get help with from God. But he comes back in verse 14. He says it again. Meaningless. He said, man, I was smarter than anybody else in the area. Nobody had achieved the amount of wisdom that I had found. He said, still was meaningless. It didn't make me happy. It didn't bring me joy. He said again, it's like chasing after the wind. And he says that a lot in Ecclesiastes. Imagine that. Just picture that, trying to chase the wind. How it's just, you're not going to do it. You're wasting your time. Then he talks about how in more wisdom equals more sorrow and more knowledge equals more grief. Let's talk about these things for just a minute. What's interesting in verse 12 is that Solomon switches first person. I'm an old math guy. I remember first person is using I, right? I had to look just to make sure. I want to make sure I was right there. Because, like I said, don't question me on math, but English, you can question me every time. He starts using first person because he said, these are the things I did. These are the things I've tried. This is exactly how I did it. He said his result is he accomplished his goal. In verse 16, he said, I've amassed wisdom far beyond those who were in Jerusalem before me, and my mind has thoroughly grasped wisdom and knowledge. He said, I achieved it. I went after it and I achieved it. And again, that's what we known him as today. I want to clear something up before this, because I don't want this to come across of saying like we shouldn't try to get smarter. You know, oh, just forget that old college stuff. You don't need all that mess. I mean, that's kind of what I was told growing up. You don't need to go to college. Just work out here. You can do it. But it was something I never regret doing. I'm so thankful that I went to Tennessee Tech and then got a master's at TSU. And I wanted to achieve that and learn so I could have those opportunities. But none of that ever made me happy. So, but he's not saying don't go to school, don't learn. We should always be in a mentality of trying to learn more and get better and read. But yet, you just have to realize that no matter how smart we get, it's not going to bring us what we're looking for. It's never going to be enough to make us happy. So that's what he's saying there. I just want to make sure. But Jason said, I ain't got to go to college, Dad. Yeah. Put me on your parents' bad side there. That's good. I can think about in this 3 and 4. You've probably been in situations like this. More wisdom equals more sorrow. More knowledge equals more grief. Years ago, I think it was 2007, we were at First Baptist, and Glenn Weekly died. He'd been pastor for over 20 years. So within the next year, they formed a pastor search committee. I think it was 9 of us. I'm sure I was the number 9 vote. I don't know how in the world I slid into that one, but I tell people I didn't make any decisions other than where we're going to go eat. That was where we're going to go eat. Jason, what do you think? I never was asking the other time. But for 2 years, I was on that committee. We met Sunday nights and Wednesday nights for 2 years. And man, I tell you, it was an awesome time I'll never regret doing. But I learned things in that sometimes I wished I didn't know. Sometimes being in something to where you learn the inside of things, how it really works, is not always a good thing. Sometimes getting more wisdom, getting more knowledge, you learn things that you really don't want to learn. And what it does is it brings you more sorrow and more grief. You're like, man, I wish I didn't know that. Working for FCA, sometimes the inside of ministry is not pretty at all. But just because we know more, Solomon's saying what it's going to do is it may provide you with sorrow. It may provide you with grief, which is the opposite of what you're searching for. Like I said, that committee was awesome. I'll never forget, Bruce Chester came in. We were on there for 2 years, and it was just, we traveled all over the Southeast. It was a great time. But just, I think back at some of the things you learn about the inside of things. It was tough. Those burdens that you carry. It was really hard. So just know that's what he's saying in that. Yeah, you may get more wisdom. You may get more knowledge, but yet it may not bring you what you want. And so that's just some lessons learned by Solomon there. It says, the more you know, the more sometimes you just shake your head. It's like watching the news. I like watching the news. I want to keep up with what's happening. But man, it's just sad to watch what's going on. That's why I record one news program a week. I record Channel 5 or CBS Evening News on Fridays. I tell you why. If you ever watch it, something encouraging, Steve Hartman has On the Road every Friday afternoon. And it ends the week of a positive story of somebody who's making a difference in our world. It's not negative. It's not. You watch, my kids, we watch it. Kids like, let's watch On the Road, Daddy. We go down and watch it, and it brings tears to my eyes sometimes. Because you see the stories of people that are really helping somebody, people that are being unselfish and making a difference. Just a little plug there for Steve Hartman. Okay, he can thank me later. Solomon's conclusion is this: enjoy life, just don't worship it. He's not saying, oh, as Christians, you can't do anything. You got to just, you can't have any fun. You can't do anything that you enjoy. He's not saying that. Enjoy life. Do the things you enjoy. Have fun. Do things with your family. Go on vacation. Do all these things, but don't worship life. And don't expect it to bring us something it's not going to. If life brought us that, why would we need God? God's the only one, again, that's going to bring us true joy, peace, happiness. That's the lessons from Solomon. Now, I want to get personal with you for a few minutes. The last 6 months of my life have been pretty tough. Been a lot of things going on. And I've learned a lot. Now, coming out on this other side, I'm so thankful of what's happened in the last 6 months. But I found myself as I was getting ready to turn 41, and I know some of you thinking, 41, oh, so young. It is young. It's younger. I used to think 50 was old, but now it's not. I just found myself struggling. Why am I responding the way I do to things? Why am I feeling the way I do? Why am I upset? Why? I've never been much of a crier. Now, when I've had kids, I found myself tearing up on some things. But I would just cry for no reason. I just found myself just upset, just discouraged. I didn't understand why I felt the way I felt. There was a lot of things in my life I was just not happy with. And I talked to some buddies of mine, and they said when they got around 40, they found themselves struggling. But I just wasn't used to that. I've always been a pretty happy guy, very blessed, great family, great house, great place. I love where I live, love my job. But I just was trying to struggle professionally. I was struggling personally. I was struggling spiritually. But you know what? I could hide it. I could hide it and put on that smile. But there's just been some things over the process of the last few months that I have learned that I want to share with you. Because maybe you were struggling with some of this stuff that Solomon learned. And maybe that was encouragement to you and helps you in where you are. Maybe some of the things that I've struggled with and God's helped me through, maybe that will encourage you. If not now, maybe later. If not you, maybe somebody in your family, one of your friends. But let's think about of the last 6 months of things I was struggling with. And here's the mistake. I thought I could take care of it all by myself. I thought I don't need anybody else. I can do it. I don't need to tell anybody. I'm good. Here's some lessons that I've learned in the last few months. My wisdom versus God's wisdom. My wisdom is so small, and God's is so large. Mine is just nothing. And I thought I knew everything. I thought I knew how to get through this. But what I have learned is that every day I need to pray and ask God for his wisdom. Solomon learned as smart as he was, his wisdom wasn't going to cut it. Sure, he was the smartest guy around, but it was still nothing compared to the wisdom of God. And I just had to learn, God, I don't know anything. I need your wisdom, and I pray for that every day. I pray every day, God, here's the things in my life, and you know the other things I'm not even thinking about. I don't know what to do, but God, you do. And I've learned that I don't know squat. And I think that's the first thing we have to know is that God does know and we don't. We have to learn how small we are and how big he is. The second thing, and I preached on this, I think, back in June, simplify. I just tried to learn how to simplify my life. We looked at last month of how, or 2 months ago, I spoke on the verses of when, Mary and Martha came or Jesus came to the house of Mary and Martha, and how Mary just sat at the feet of Jesus and just listened to him and spent time with him. And Martha was distracted by all the things going on in her world. She was doing good things, but yet she was very distracted. How Jesus told her when she told Martha, said, Jesus, basically this, get my sister up and tell her to help me. He said, she knows what's the main thing. That's what she needs to do. Martha was so distracted, and I get so distracted on things. I get my schedule so full. I get just so much in my mind, and I don't do anything well. And I've just learned to try to simplify life. Simplify everything. When Jamie and I are talking about the kids and getting the kids in this and this, you can get them in so much. It's just crazy. My work schedule, I can cram stuff in there. I'm thinking, okay, I got a meeting in 45 minutes. I'm gonna run by this school real quick. And then I'm late to my next meeting because I try to cram in everything. I've just tried to learn to simplify stuff as much as possible. My schedule, my time, my everything. So, my wisdom versus God's wisdom. I've learned to simplify. I've learned number 3, take better care of myself. The Bible in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, I think it is, talks about being our body's a temple, take care of it. I had a temple, but it resembled more of a Buddhist temple, if you know what I mean. Some of you will catch that here in a minute, Buddha, belly, That's what my temple resembled. But I started taking better care of myself. I started learning about how to eat better. how to exercise better, how to exercise smarter, that I needed accountability. Again, I learned I could not do it on my own. Well, again, June, there's two differences in me today and me in June. One, I weighed in June about 225. The other day I weighed 199. I hadn't weighed something that started with a 1 in a long time, I want to tell you that. The second thing is this. I wore an extra large shirt. This is a large. I hadn't wore a shirt that didn't have an X in front of the tag in a long time. It took me asking for help. 'Cause we need to represent well. We need to take care of ourselves. I saw my family and how unhealthy. My dad died of a heart attack and had at like 62 and had all these different issues going on. Diabetes, my family. I just saw myself going to that. But I had to have some help with it. I had to learn how to eat. And I'll talk more in a minute of what the exercise has also led to in my life, which has been really cool. Number 4. Through God's help, I've learned in the last few months to do a better job of surrounding myself with the right people. I broke down a few months ago and did something that I needed to do for a long time. I went over to the Bab Center, First Baptist, the counseling center. And I spent some time with a Christian counselor. Went several times over about a 3-month period. And it was one of the hardest times I'd ever been through. Jamie would tell me, she's like, I don't like when you go to counseling. You come home sad. Because he started revealing some stuff to me and started answering some of those questions that I'd had. Why am I reacting this way? It was really hard. Y'all, I can remember being on a Disney cruise. And one of the best vacations we've ever done. And the kids and Jamie were inside, and I'm out there and I'm looking over the water. And I was in such a tough place. I remember looking over at that water and going, would anybody miss me? I just jumped over. I never really considered suicide, but I just wasn't happy. I thought, am I doing anything? Is my life meaningful to anything? And just looking at that and thinking, man, would they miss me if I was gone? I was really in a tough place. When I grew up, I remember one time asking my family about counseling, and they said, no, that's just for crazy people. And if you met my family, you'd go, well, yeah, well, that's... And I'm crazy too. But that's how I was taught. That's how it's kind of looked at in some places. There's that counselors, that's just for crazy people. But I'm going to tell you, that man, Brian Shepherd at the Bab Center, was a gift from God. Man, he asked me questions. We talked about things. Over that period of several months, he really helped me to answer a lot of questions. And I highly recommend, if you're dealing with something, even if you're not, just to check up, is seek out a good Christian counselor. Is putting somebody like that in my life made a difference. I learned not only a good Christian counselor, but also having mentors in my life. There are people that are that next stage above us that have been where we are. And they've experienced things that we haven't yet experienced. And it's important to meet with them regularly and have those people that you can talk with and ask questions. I've got guys in my life. God has blessed me so much with so many men. And up until late, I didn't realize they were kind of mentors in my life. I think all of us, guys and gals, all of us need a mentor. All of us need somebody older in our life that can pour into us. But I'm going to go a step further. All of us need somebody we're pouring into. All of us want a mentor, but we don't want to mentor somebody else. I firmly believe people in your 60s should be mentoring somebody in your 40s. People in your 40s should be mentoring somebody in your 20s. Who are you pouring into? Who is pouring into you? We got to have people in our life that are pouring into us, helping us, teaching us those things. And then finally, I learned to have some people in my life that are kind of where I am in my life. That are going through the same things I'm going through, accountability partners. I got a group of guys I meet with on Saturday morning. Clint Burns, Joseph Carpenter, Lane Wise, Ron Foster. And we meet on Saturdays. And man, I tell you, it's been really cool of things which we gotten to know each other a little better. And we're sharing those things we struggle with. Going through a study together. It's really good. I got a group of guys we've been meeting with on Sunday mornings here. And I mean, it's Bubba and Stacy and Dave and Jason Nordwall and some others. And I mean, a couple others have come some. And it's been really cool to have those guys that you can meet with and be real with. You can't do it alone. If you do it alone, you're going to fail every time. You can't do it alone. So surround myself with the right people. And finally this, something else God's taught me in the last 6 months, is I have to keep my eyes fixed on Jesus. I got a lot of friends right now that are really struggling. I got several buddies right now that are going through divorce. And it's easy when you're going through something to try to back away and hide and just not really want to talk to people, kind of want to isolate yourself. But all that does is make it worse. This is what I'm seeing in my life, is that I want to focus on Jesus. And I want to walk towards him. In Proverbs, it talks about don't look to the left or the right. I want to stay focused on him. And again, I need to surround myself with people who want the same thing. But here's what's happened. If I'm walking this way, it's easy for me to do this or do this and get off course a little bit. But when we're like that, if we stay close to God and we got people around us, we can get back on track. None of us in here that are following Christ, I think, do this. I'm going to be over here. We're not going to jump one time and come all the way over here and be that far off. Here's what happens if we're not careful. I'm okay. I can still see. I'm still kind of on track. I'm still okay. Hey, I'm good, everybody. It's all right. Before you know it, you are over here. You didn't take one big leap, but you took several small steps. And then you're off course and life is not good. You're making bad decisions. You're doing dumb things. You're costing. You're hurting your family. You're doing all these things. Financially, you're a mess. All these things because you didn't do the proper things at the beginning. We have to keep our eyes focused on Jesus. We have to spend time with him. We have to have that relationship with him. Are you spending time with God? Are you spending time with him? Are you spending time in his word every day? Just reading a little bit. I know I've been through times where, man, I'd go through and I'd read a couple chapters and I'd shut it. Hey, I'm done. I did my thing. Here's kind of what I've learned lately. It's better to read a little and to get a lot than to read a lot and get a little. And there's times I'll read 4 or 5 verses and just stop. I was watching the Francis Chan study on James that some of us did this summer. It was a 10-minute video. Sometimes I'd watch 5 of it, and man, I'm taking notes on James, and I just have to stop after 5 minutes and go, man, I need to soak this in. It can't just become just something we do just to get done. Spending time with him and reading and studying his word every day. Then finally, is we got to pray. You know, here's something, again, I've learned a lot about. I really, this is one of the greatest things I feel like that God has shown me in the last few months. I told you, as I've been exercising more, I've been going out every morning almost and walking and running, mostly walking, not running much, but between an hour and a half. And that first 30 minutes, I just been praying. And I just pray for all the things going on. And I'm going to show you something here to help you if you struggle with just how to pray. Because I struggled with it. Just because all I would do is just ask for things. God, I need this, and this. Help this, and this. All right, that's pretty much it. And so I just wanted to learn how to pray and really get the best bang for my buck, you know. And so as I went out and started walking, again, I'm exercising, which when I went out exercising, that was the thing I enjoyed the most. But now exercising has become number 2. The time I'm enjoying just praying, just talking with God. So I don't know if you've seen this or not, but it's called the Acts prayer. Because again, well, let me just tell you what it is, and I'll tell you. A is adoration and praise. C is confession. T is thanksgiving, and S is supplication. Supplication is the prayer request, things I need, I desire, praying for others, all that. I would just skip right to that every time. And now I start off in my prayer time, and I'm just walking down the road, and I'm just praising God for who he is. Just praising him for his joy, his peace, praising him for his forgiveness, praising him for the things he has that I don't, praising him for all the things he is and what he's done in my life. Then I'll just take a minute or two and just confess. And God, I put something on my heart of, God, you know this is where I'm struggling right now. God, this is where you know I've messed up, and I'm sorry. Please forgive me, God. But I just take some time and just confess whatever's going on in my life and there's something all the time. I never run out of those. But then I take some time for tea and just thanksgiving. I thank God for my family. I thank Him for my church. I thank Him for my job. I thank Him for the men He's put in my life. I thank Him for the things He's shown me. I just start thanking Him for all the things He's done and given me. In the supplication, I start praying for all those people. And I start praying for all these things. And praying for the people who says, would you pray? The guys I know that's got cancer, the guys I know that's going through a divorce, the people that God's put in my life, just pray for them. And then I told you, I walk about an hour, and that takes about 30 minutes. And you know what I do? I shut up. I take the last 30 minutes, hour, whatever. I'm not on my phone. I'm not listening to music. I'm just listening. Because I say, God, you know the things going on with FCA. You know the things going on with my family. This is what I pray every day. I need wisdom in what to do here. And I just shut up and listen. And I'm going to tell y'all what. My buddy, I told him this, and he told me the same thing the other day, what it's done for him. I'm thinking clearer now. I feel like I'm making better decisions. Not everything, of course, but I feel like in areas of my life, work and things, I'm making better decisions. Because I'm letting God just share and speak, instead of me telling Him what I want. But it's taking time to do it. Even my boss the other day, he said, man, I can tell you're making better decisions. There's some things you're doing better, and I think it's because of the time you're taking. But my prayer time before wouldn't. I do the little pistol prayers, which are good. I'd still do those. But I didn't have that time to where I was praying for a big period of time during the day. I get so distracted. My mind stays so cluttered, and I needed some time just to spend with Him and just to pray and to listen. So I get up early. I get up at 4:30 in the morning now. I go to bed at 9 o'clock, but I get up at 4:30. A couple weeks ago, the kids went to spend the night with my mom. 8:45, we was ready to go to bed on a Friday night. I'm like, man, I'm getting old. But it's that time of just spending that time with God. And so that's just some things I just wanted to share with you. In the last 6 months, it's been one of the toughest times with the counseling and the struggling. But just because of some things God gave me wisdom on, and I just spent time with Him and prayed, God's brought me through a lot of that. And it's really helped me in so many ways. Still learning. Still got a long way to go. But my question is this as I close. What's God trying to teach you? What's God wanting to give you wisdom on? Maybe it's something with your family. Maybe it's something with your work. Maybe it's joining this church. Maybe it's just some kind of change. I don't know what it is. But what is God trying to teach you? So today, as we have a time of just prayer, invitation, reflection, is there something you need to come and pray about? Is there something you need to grab your husband or your wife or one of your friends and say, hey, would you go pray with me? Is there a change you need to make in your life so that you can be more aware of what God wants and what God's trying to show you? Do what God wants you to do. That's all He wants. Just do what He asks. Pray. God, I love you and I praise you, God, for all you do. I thank you, God, for what you showed Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes and what you taught him. Lord, even though he was very wise, Lord, your wisdom far surpassed him. I thank you what you've been showing me. And I thank you for what you're showing everyone in this room. I pray today, God, that we would just take, if it's just one thing that we've been battling with, one thing we've been looking for an answer to, whether that's seeing a counselor, whether that's eating better, exercising better, whether that's surrounding ourselves with a group of men or women that can help us, or just focusing more on you, better prayer time, better time in your word, or something else, God. I pray that you just put it on our heart. And Lord, help us leave here encouraged to know we're going to trust in you to help us do better. We can't do it alone. We can do it with you and the help of others that put around us, God. We love you and we thank you. In your name I pray. Amen. Stand. As Ron and the band lead, just do what God has on your heart.